when you were working on The Believer, was there anything as freaky as that happened on the set when you're making the film?
Nothing so specific, but it was a weird energy, as you can imagine, in the climax of this movie.
You know that I love you, right? You know you can tell me anything. What were you and Catherine doing out there in those woods?
I wanted to talk to Mom. Sometimes I hear her voice. You light a candle. Clear your mind. You just start speaking what the Spirit says to you.
What does the Spirit say to you?
Leave me alone now.
Hi, David Douglas from Singapore. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Fine, fine. Congratulations on the movie. I saw it the other day, and I have to tell you this story. It's a true story. I'll make it quick. I was alone in the theater, and the first 5 minutes, first 10 minutes actually, there was some digital freeze. Some of the scenes froze. Okay, usually I'll blame the projectionist, but this being an Exorcist movie, I have to say there's something supernatural at work. So when you were working on The Believer, was there anything as freaky as that happened on the set when you're making the film?
Nothing so specific, but it was a weird energy, as you can imagine, in the climax of this movie, when you have all these different religions going into this moment with these two young girls, and so many religious perspectives and scriptures and texts and mantras and things that are happening, and you take the fictional qualities of those characters, add that to the spiritual reality of the actors, and then the crew around them, and it was just it was hard to explain, but there was a very bizarre energy in the room for those days.
And speaking of the exorcism scenes, and that is very intense. I kudos to the actresses who play, Angela and Catherine. I'm just curious, how do you prepare these actresses to be possessed? Surely, I know Linda Blair helped out. So, but how do you do it without making them mimic her performance in the original Exorcist?
Right. Well, we did have Linda, as a consultant, and that was very valuable, not just about from a performance standpoint, but also for their well-being and the psychological standpoint of what we were going to be subjecting them to. And so we always looked at it very playful. We did a lot of rehearsal, and we looked at it as kind of performance art or interpretive dance or something that brought the emotional qualities, the physical qualities in a very playful way. And then you add a little effect on their voice and add the demonic intuitions, intonations of the characters, and it becomes something very dark and spooky. Whereas on set itself, for most of those sequences were really fun to film.
So you've done you've expanded the mythologies of two landmark horror films, Halloween and now Exorcist. Looking back, do you think you have done, would it matter you have done the Exorcist first, then Halloween?
I think there's such different subgenres of horror. The slasher genre is much more popcorn fun, and the boogeyman jumping out of the closet, and what's a gruesome, crazy kill that you can coordinate. With Exorcist, it's more thoughtful. It's in a way, it's like looking into the drama of the characters. It's a slow burn of characters, and has a lot more in common with some of the earlier independent-minded dramatic films that I'd done.
Well, the making of the original Exorcist, there were so many wild stories. William Friedkin shooting a gun just to get an actor's reaction. He slapped a priest. What were your favorite? What are your favorite Exorcist stories?
You mean from the original film?
Yeah, from the original film.
You know what? I don't know what I'm allowed to say. I've become very good friends with Linda Blair and Ellen Burstyn, so I've heard a lot of stories, but I try to keep the code of silence there, because it's a different world now than when they were making that film, and the theatrics of a director are significantly diminished, mostly for good. But yeah, it sounds like that was a pretty wild one.
And if you could travel back in time, is there a specific scene you'd like to shoot? I'd like to take a look at how William Friedkin shot The Exorcist.
Wow, that's a fantastic question. A specific scene. There's there's so, I mean, I would love just to be a production assistant on that film. There's so many incredible scenes, and I know there were various different sets for the bedroom, but that's the one thing, something I'm very curious about, is how you get the camera angles, how you get the effects, and how you get the performance all at the same time. What his tricks were versus mine would be very fascinating to observe.
What do you think evil is?
Come back to us, baby.
I'll tell you what I think it is.
If you don't make it, I don't make it.
The devil has one wish: to make us lose faith. And the devil never gives up.